Hey everybody, I'm going to figure out how to share this some different places and then all right, so nobody's here just yet, so I will talk to myself. Is there a way to share this? How about chat? Because this is a thing. This over here. Oh gosh, something like that. Hello. All right, so my buddy Jeff looks like he's gonna come play tabla with me. Yes, he's gonna come play tabla with me. So I'm gonna start by improvising a little bit on In Your Atmosphere. Oh, hey Chaz, what's up? Yeah. So, but I'm gonna first of all see if I can figure out how to share this. Will take a solid 30. There's that share button. Let me go share the link. So I'll probably start doing my own jam here in about a minute after I get a couple of little things set up. We'll make sure everybody's got the link that they need. It'll be all super fun. But my very good friend, Jeff Brozena, who is an amazing tabla player, is going to come and, play some tabla jams with me, and I just freaking rip it and love playing with him. But he and I also have been having a conversation about this concept of grounding. He actually really got me into it. So we both play Indian classical music, big part of what we do, and such a well source of inspiration. And what he really got me into recently was like minimalism. He's been getting me to listen to music that's just very repetitive. It's just like, boom, same couple things, for 30 measures and then like some teeny change, just like these teeny changes. But what's so cool about minimalism, like I didn't really appreciate it before. I feel like if I was like living in an ashram or something, I'd love minimalism or something. But for a long time, I thought it was like a really affected genre, and I really didn't enjoy it too much. But then actually my uncle sent me a link to a band called Hylon, which is kind of a Northern European folk band, like an experimental folk band. And they play this very repetitive stuff. It's like yanking chains, like this main piece they did. This chick is just taking a bone, like a human bone, right up to the microphone and just for just like a long time. They're doing all this stuff, but it's very repetitive, very simple. And I wasn't, for a second, I'm like, oh, it's more minimalism. I'm not going to get interested, but I just stopped. They were wearing all these crazy costumes, just like face paint and just like headdresses and wolf skins. And they were like so crazy about this music they were doing. And she was just tapping this bone. I mean, they were doing this unbelievably repetitive, simple music with such intensity that it just hit me a little differently. And I realized that, my buddy Jeff had been trying to get me to listen to minimalist stuff. And I realized, oh, this is kind of like that. Let me listen a little closer. And all of a sudden I kind of connected with it. I realized that this music, they're doing it for a reason. Like what my uncle told me was that the people in this band they all have like a traumatic history. And I've been studying trauma a lot, so I have my ears perked up. And so what is it about this music that helps people who have had, trauma in their past? And I realized, oh, it's soothing. Like when they feel anxious, when they feel like out of control, they play this music and it centers them emotionally when they feel just like they're going crazy. And I was like, this is really important for me. I've always feel like I'm crazy because I have just some crazy ADD. I've seen it on brain scans. I know what it is, And I realized, this is the thing I've struggled with improvisation forever. Is that I have all these ideas. All these ideas just want to come out. I have all these ideas about composition and just like things in life. And I have not been able to get them out the way I want. Or when I play, I just feel like it's sloppy. Just sloppy. And it bugs the hell out of me. And I realized, oh, maybe this can help me. And so my attitude toward minimalism changed like that. I made a playlist right away and started listening to all this stuff that people had been giving me and started looking for it to do something to me. And I realized this works. I listened to this music. I was listening to Hylon. I was listening to like Dysmonia. It's an album by a band called Dawn of MIDI. And I realized, oh yeah, I do feel calmer when I listen to this. And it's not like drawing my attention. It's not like sucking me in. It's not like new age, like put you to sleep music. It's different. It's not like Brian Eno or like these mushy synth washes. It's very repetitive, intense. It's intense music. You're really focused on what you're doing, but there's not a lot going on. And it's like meditating. You focus on it. And it brings about that mental state if you listen to it that way. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to start from that and go out to crazy stuff. And I usually don't have a hard time thinking of crazy stuff. Like I get polyrhythmic ideas and weird melodic ideas all the time. But making them not just like, like gush out of my mouth disgustingly is really hard. And I realized this is where I want to start when I improvise. And when I want to expand, when I want to like make my practice musical, this is how I want to do it. Because I really want to practice. I want to get better. I don't just want to do some drill or just play like random stuff and have it be mush. I really want to play music and get better. And this is where I realized this is the beginning. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're doing drumming improvisation or guitar jamming or it's anything. Any kind of improvisation you do, if it's like long form or if it's like musical practice, I've decided like the way you want to start is with grounding. So let's talk about what that might look like. With Indian classical music, which is the first place I started, just your drone and just listening. So you kind of come into the space a little bit and you really kind of set, okay, what the heck do I even want to do? It seems so benign or like so almost trivial, but if you don't take a second and really focus, okay, what am I going to do? The biggest thing is that lets all these other things come in. Like your mind will just start throwing random things. So you really want to start by saying, this is what the hell I want to play. This is what I'm trying to do. And so for me, I know I want to do something within your atmosphere. I'm not really going to play in your atmosphere because actually I don't want the search algorithms on YouTube video stuff to pick up that it's a cover. So I'm not really going to play the song in your atmosphere. But I know there are ideas in it that I'm really interested in. So I'm kind of in this space now, but I just set my intention. I want to do something within your atmosphere and I want it to not suck. So there's that. Then I really want to start to tease out what is in there that's interesting to me. You got to have some kind of hook. When Indian musicians do this, they have a song. They are like, okay, I pick a raga, but there's like a specific song in that raga. And that is like huge because there's something about that song that they're just like, think is the greatest thing. Some little way that melody moves, they're just like, that gets me, that hooks me. That's going to hook your audience too. And it's going to hook you and keep you grounded. And for me, this is like the whole way that I did the Pluck and Chuck series too. Is like I picked every song because there was like one moment, there's like one technique or one melody or one teeny little thing about it that I was like, ooh. I was like, ooh. And everything interesting that I ever did with any of these to me was off of not the whole song, but just like one little moment. And like so within your atmosphere, I just love those hammers. Because I just realized it's almost like, they're so soulful. But you could do so much with that, I just realized you could do like so much with those. And so what I really want to do, I feel like I want to explore that. Like in your atmosphere, I got this open tuning so I can do all this atmospheric stuff. I can set this nice frame that I know is going to sound good. It's like hard to screw up. I can't barely hit wrong notes because of this open tuning. That's nice. And, so I've got this intention that I've set. I know what composition I'm doing. I know I'm doing in your atmosphere. And I know that I really want to play with these hammer-ons that they have, this, what do I got? Yeah. There it is, Yeah, that little thing. Like that's like the theme I want to explore. So I've got that figured out. Now, I want to start to explore it, but incrementally. I want to like take the composition and break it down to just like the teeniest little thing, and the teeniest little thing is just like, one hammer, and everything I want to do. I don't want to play any notes until I know it's going to sound good. I'm starting to think of it, but I'm not actually doing anything yet. The tension in this moment is everything. This is the thing that makes people give up usually. When I slow people down in lessons at this part, they tend to freak out. But this is where the good stuff is. It's like, before you play the first note, before you play any note, any phrase of any song, there's this space you create. So you can really sense, what do I really want to do? You start to picture it in your mind. and you ask yourself, do I really think when I play this that what I want to happen is going to happen? And I got to play a note that doesn't sound like garbage. So for me, even just before I play the first note, I'm really going to look at the neck. Where the hell is the note I want to play? What finger am I going to play with? Am I really going to hit it with the tip of my finger? I picture all this stuff. I'm doing a little slower, obviously, because I'm explaining my whole process. But if I really just like, okay, out of it, into it again. So when I do phrases, they're very deliberate. And I realize, oh crap, I'm in a real territory now. I'm playing now. It's like, it's not just this benign. And sometimes you start going into that. I just hit a wrong note. I didn't really like that note. It wasn't the note I intended to hit. So I realize there's a territory I really have to explore. So as I'm really doing this, I'm slowly starting to carve out my territory. What notes can I use? It's the first thing I figure out. What notes can I use? All right, now I'm home. I find my home. And I try to just make a nice sound on the home note. Still thinking of in your atmosphere. I know, deep in my mind, I'm really playing in your atmosphere, but nobody knows that yet. It's just me. It's my little secret. I really try to make the home note sound good. I'm trying to figure out what notes can I play. All right, so I know it's E Lydian now. I figured I'm in a Lydian scale. I didn't even know that before I started, but now I know. Lydian scale. I'm going to go over that a bunch of different ways. I'm going to weave my way through my scale so that I really kind of ground it. So slowly, and the more ways you go through it, the more solid it's going to be. So slowly explore different ways through your notes. And just savor your notes. This is why I love the drone spaces. This is one thing that's tricky about this. You don't want to get too relaxed, but you want something that really makes you want to sit on notes. Vibrato. The space should sound good enough that you just want to sit on the notes forever because it gives you time to think. This is huge. This is so huge. You can develop it a bit, but I give myself these long pauses to get my mental energy back and to reframe myself. A lot of pausing. See, I didn't just notice. Open string, I can't do vibrato, but I heard it and noticed it and got off of it. I was really scared of like dead open note for a second, but I'm going slow enough that I notice things like that. The best thing about going slow, ultra slow, is that you notice everything. This is a huge aspect of grounding, especially when you start. You try to make it sound good to go slow so that you can notice everything. And you can put so much energy into every note. And I just remind myself every so often, I'm trying to get from here to in your atmosphere. How do I do that? It's a good question. Questions are good. Don't be scared of questions. Here we go. I'm just going to open it up a little bit more. Technical stuff. Hammer-ons, I'm not confident of them yet. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to just play with the hammer-ons and the pull-offs so that when I want to go to them later, I've already done them a bit. They're already kind of loaded in the system. I want to play with them slowly. See, I didn't really like how that hammer came out. I'm not going to go away from it until I get it clean. You may not have even been bothered by that, but I was bothered by it, but I got time to stop and ground it. That weak pull off on that pinky. See, weak hammer on too. Mistakes are okay, but just don't, you don't just want to bowl right over. You really want to take some time to really get it right. See, now I just teased my idea. I'm gonna keep teasing it. Now I'm really teasing it. Yeah, and now I'm even finding new things on it. Like I mean, just having that Lydian moment. Like the actual in your atmosphere doesn't have that. But just because I'm improvising, I just discovered something new. Now I'm opening up new things that weren't in the original, but that it's just suggested by it. You know, I kind of stumble on them by accident, but they're like really good discoveries to have, and it lets you get more out of the song than just playing the song. So here we go. I keep going. Space. If you make a mistake, do it again. Reminds me of this raga that I really like called Madhava, where that's what you do. You kind of go up to the sharp one, and then resolve. So play with that mistake like I meant it. You know, it's another thing that's really good to do. Starts that note. I'm gonna keep playing. My buddy Jeff's gonna come in. He is going to play tabla with me when we're all set up. But I'm just gonna keep on going for the time being. So I just so I'm gonna play for a bit more when you're set up. Oh, please be super careful about that. If you kick that cable, the live stream will break. Yeah. Can you set up on the bed there? I'm gonna play a bit more until you're closer to set up, and then maybe we'll chat a bit. So the grounding stuff. You're good. I'm just kind of keeping this ticking. So, all right. So I've kind of carved out a bit of the territory on all the three main playing strings, but now I want to weave it together. So I'm going to go a little faster now, but not much. Still leaving a lot of space, but really collecting all the little nuggets that I found by accident, you know, as I've kind of explored it. this other phase where everything goes faster. Just kind of hit it there. So we leave a lot of space, but my hand's just not going to stop moving. Something like that. Yeah, sorry, it was super awkward. You're like way back there, and that's super like, I don't know. I'm wondering, can people see him? People, let me know if you all can see Jeff. Okay. Oh, hallelujah. Let me know, people, if you can see and hear Jeff. Okay, that'd be awesome. I kind of want to move back there.
I kind of want to tune to you.
Yeah. I've been tuned for a bit. So, the thing I've been kind of mentioning so far is I talked to them a lot about what we've been talking about with grounding.
Right.
And just like a bit of how I discovered it and how I kind of like, especially like clicked into minimalism as like being a thing for me. I'm totally getting set up, right? So that's good. That'd be so much better. You can tell I'm set up for this. I do it all the time. Yes, it's like, it's gotta go. So I explained to them a bit that, you and I had kind of gotten into that discussion and how it really kind of stuck for me as being a thing, and how I am really, how you and I kind of continue to develop that through the way that we play, and just discuss it in other aspects of our lives. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind getting just your take on all the discussions we've had.
The first step in grounding is to be in tune.
True story.
Truly.
Yeah, I put the singing and alter tuning out during a lesson earlier today.
Right.
Where again we were kind of working on in your atmosphere a little bit, so I got kind of in the atmosphere tuning. Then I kind of it's still settling there.
I am too, actually. That's it. Hey everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm an old friend of John's from 7 years ago. We're reconnecting after about that much time.
Yeah.
So he went away to Philly. I went away to New York. Did a profound job of getting myself uprooted. Drove across the country, and then when I landed in State College, the first thing that I was basically saying to John, our friend John, was that my only task for the next year was to really feel grounded again. And I've been playing tabla for about 10 years, and drum set more or less for the better part of my adult life. So practicing tabla is really steadying, and steadying kind of leads to grounding, hopefully. Grounding leads to steadying, hopefully, kind of interconnected there. So, in a very simple way, one of the things that I am after by practicing tabla at all, not as a means to an end, but really as the end, is to just play the same thing for a very long time without making any alterations, and to have it be okay to not need to move from a very simple phrase played for a very long time. There's a depth in its own right that comes along doing that, and that as a discipline is something that I'd say it's pretty fair to say that most people don't really get to tap into. It's a luxury. Maybe as a musician, that's not fair to make a sweeping judgment, but I know I'll speak for myself only. I know as I practice anything, drums or writing or whatever, there's always this need to express whatever sense of self, or we want to play the coolest thing. We want to play and it's like for a minute, for a little while, I just kind of I don't want to do any of that. I want to forget myself. I want to play a simple phrase for 45 minutes at a time and have that be more than enough. It's kind of the core. One of the core themes of practicing this instrument, this discipline at all, is that the self-expression is almost, I don't want to say secondary, but that's not what it is that you're after. At first, you're after just the fundamentals are a little simpler than that. So, in a word, I would say that grounding, what I'm after when I was talking to John about grounding, is there's a depth of the practice, but it doesn't come because you're saying really complex or complicated stuff through your instrument. I mean, what I'm after is so much simpler than that. And so, I don't know, we go back to about 2010 or so, and I still remember the first time we played together. It was, I'm back, right? I came back to State College, and so did he. So with that said, maybe we take it from there. Maybe we just kind of attempt to.
Want to rip it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do actually. Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Good to meet you, stranger.
Whoever's here.
So I'm gonna kind of rip it on. Still thinking about "In Your Atmosphere" by John Mayer. That's kind of like I'm gonna try to avoid actually playing the song, but I'm gonna try to play things inspired by that are kind of in that space. Actually,
I'll follow you.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think if I can. Still working. I'm in your atmosphere tuning. What's up? Oh yeah, that's going. Yeah, I'll answer questions at the end. We're gonna keep playing for a bit though. Yeah, in your atmosphere is the tuning. I kind of want to do it later. Yeah, try to do in your atmosphere is the later.
Scorekeeper over there. It's a game, I guess. I guess there's a game going on.
Finite game or infinite?
They're gonna have
Wins
to
and loses.
I'm thinking infinite. I don't like I love you, man. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna cut myself off from the pressure of having to talk to people while I do this. We just ripped it. I'm gonna pull together highlights of all this and repost it probably on Facebook and here. But let me take a real quick chance to answer a couple questions while I can, and then I'm gonna kill it because we're running out of time here. Got about 3 minutes left. So let me go through some questions as I can't hold count. A lot of questions. Let's see here.
The chord versus scale thing.
Oh,
I can see it from here.
oh, okay. It was the question about chords versus scales. Basic music theory. Watch John's
Something
videos.
talking about how to push it farther after getting technically good.
How can you read from that far away?
I don't know.
It's crazy. Now I have to find it. What type of improv you're typically thinking in terms of scales or in terms of the chords? Okay, got it. That's a good question. Okay, so I can't reduce it to anything simpler than thinking of the space. And this is why this concept of grounding is so tricky, is that you have to carve out every aspect of the musical space. It can't just be the chords or the scales or the rhythm or the composition. It kind of has to be everything. So the main thing is start with a song. This is the thing that took me like a long time to come around to, because I really just love to like explore free improvisational stuff. And that's like good and important and like fun. But when I got sick of it being like noodly, I was like, how do I fix this from being noodly? And the essential question to that is you start with a song. And then this question of, okay, is it like a chord thing? Is it a scale thing? It's like everything. Because it's like, you know, when people teach you scale boxes, that's like a really good way to get used to dealing with, you know, like the possibilities of like having keys and scales and stuff. But in that particular song, you're not going to play every note in the whole pentatonic grid just because you can. You never do that. It's not, it's unnaturally laborious to do that. What you really do is, I mean, you know, you find like some set of notes in the key you're in and that sounds nice on the instrument that day with the tone you have with that particular song, and you exploit that. And the scale is just kind of a carving out possibility of that. And it's good to learn that as like a frame to work on technique and as a way to kind of get used to, these are the common things that show up. But, you know, depending on the type of music, those might not even be the common things that show up. If you play Indian music, you might not play in a major scale all that much. It might be really uncommon. You know, if you were in scale boxes, but you're always playing vertically, like I was playing there, like I wasn't really playing across the neck because I was in an open tuning. When I'm in a standard tuning, I'm really thinking like across the neck, like I'm doing scale boxes, you know, like playing this way. But again, in this tuning, you even like see that scale box, I would normally go there, but it's the same note. It doesn't make sense to think this way anymore. You start thinking this way. You know, so I look at what the scale is on every string, and it's a different shape on the next string. And sometimes a big sitar thing I learned is you pluck 2 strings at a time. Kind of give it a little thing. You notice I did that a lot. I still carved out the same E Lydian scale, but the places of the notes are different on this string. So in the beginning section, where I really nail myself down, where I kind of ground myself, I carve out all that space. I figure out where are my notes on every string. If I do well, I get used to figuring out where all those things are. And I kind of remember them from that. But sometimes I have to remind myself like a bunch of times over the course of the piece. And those lead to little mistakes. Not a huge deal, but you want to weed those out as much as you can. That's why you start very slow at the beginning. You know, and you just kind of like, there's one note I can use. Okay, cool, I figured that out. This sounds nice. What about this one? That one's nice. That one, not so much. I'll resolve it back to a note that works. I'll pretend like I meant it, so I'll play it again. Nobody knows what I meant, so I'll just do it again. Pretend like I meant it. But now I'll keep exploring the territory. And once I'm used to the things on that string, then I go on. But, you know, again, I started out by saying I'm going to play in your atmosphere. And I did. But I really screwed with that a lot. You know, so when I start, I'm thinking of in your atmosphere. And I know the composition. I know it's... There we go. You know, I kind of know that. I have that in my head. But I know there's something about it I want to tease out that I think is interesting. And so I start exploring what notes I can use, but also the techniques I want to mess with at the beginning. And because I'm in open tuning, I'm thinking very vertically, a lot like a sitar. And gradually over time, I let the other aspects of it open up, like what meter am I playing in that. But it's all determined by the song. You start by saying, what song do I want to play and what do I want to explore about it? You set that intention. You take a second to make space in your brain. You set that in place. And then you let your process unfold it.
And that's what lets you kind of explore the instrument and grow as a player and always be finding new stuff, but also be playing music at the same time. That's what's really cool about it. But this key thing that I think Jeff really got me focused on over the past couple of weeks is just starting out. Something dead simple, not being afraid to play the same repetitive thing. I might start like a real thing. If I was like really playing this for like a yoga class, especially, this is the thing I'm really excited about, is like playing yoga classes. I'm so excited about this because I can start out 3 notes. Just listen to the dynamics and feel my fingers on the instrument and really feel like, how do I just make these 3 notes sound as best as I can? And so when I do add another note, it's very consequential.
Yeah.
And when I open up the space more, you feel it so much more. But you have more time to figure out, what am I doing? And you stay grounded, and you don't play as much random stuff that way. And when you're free to explore improvisation in these huge ways, it's really easy to just go crazy. And yeah.
Space is a good way to say it.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing about it is not being afraid to make tons of space. Not being afraid to be like, I'm just going to start like this. I'm starting my performance. I'm just not trying to do anything flashy. Just listening to music.
And it's also worth saying, I mean, maybe this is trite, maybe you've discussed this before, but there is a difference between practice and performance, right? And sometimes as we practice, we forget that we're practicing. When we perform, we think that we're practicing. And it's really good to keep your head aware of which one it is.
Yeah.
Especially in spaces like this, where if you play the same thing 45 times, you're not going to do that in a performance, obviously. That's not what I mean. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap up on a note, because I have stuff I got to get to, but I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to try to wrap up the whole discussion. I got into this idea of practicing musically. Like Victor Wooten really emphasized it in one of his DVDs, and I really hooked onto that idea. And I've been trying to tease out better ways to do it for years. And this is like a collection of a lot of little things. Lots of little things I pulled together, but you can apply them to anything. Some of them are specific techniques for specific genres, and you can find specific techniques for specific genres. But a lot of these you can apply to anything. It's this idea of saying, start with a song. What's some song you definitely want to do? And it's a definite song. You know what the notes are. You know what the techniques are. Here it is. Boom. And yeah, you should practice it. You should go off in your cold, dark room where no one's there watching you, and you should practice it by yourself. And guess what? That's hard. And it sucks. It's not usually fun. So don't expect yourself to do it for 50 hours a day. There's not 50 hours in a day. You're human. You can probably do it for 20 minutes at a crack if you're having a good day. But that's enough. So distinguish between like when you don't have anything figured out, but you really got to really get the core thing in. Yeah, that's practice. That's no one's distracting you. Nobody's telling you how to do it. It's just you with yourself, and you can totally focus purely on your own mental processes. That's practice, And this is kind of like halfway in between, where you still have some of that space. A lot of the way I perform this stuff, the way we perform this stuff, there's a lot of space in the music. And that space is put there because you have to think. The same way when you're by yourself, you have to think, what freaking fret is that? And am I crossing the string at the right time? When you have to think of all that stuff at the same time, it takes time. The only difference with this is that while you're doing that thinking, you're pedaling. Where's my note? All right. It took like 20 seconds to figure out where I was going to do that darn hammer. But that's exactly where I wanted it. I don't know if that sounded weird out of context. But I spent like 20 seconds. Okay, am I going to hit with the tip of my finger? And I just kept things busy by pedal. So you get used to thinking while you're doing that. And then you have this song in mind. That kind of centers everything. You start very simple. Play very simple stuff. Give people the idea. Don't expect a lot. But this instrument sounds nice not doing a lot. If it sounds nice, not doing a lot, you're good. You cannot do a lot and still keep people, and trust that
And if they're not going to stay with you just playing that little stuff, you're not going to keep them anyway. So let that go. Stay grounded in your own thing and slowly start to explore the space you want to improvise in. That can be melodic space. That can be scales. You're just finding notes on the neck that you like. That can be technical space. Like, what am I working on? Hammer-ons and pull-offs, you know? Am I working on, you know, am I working on a certain type of stroke? If you can pedal something, just like, work on a certain type of stroke until you got it zoned in. You know, whatever technical things you want to do, you start to slowly zone those in. And as you get them zoned in, you build them up and you do them faster and you do more adventurous musical things as you go. But you're always ready to pull it back. That space you set right at the beginning where there's not a lot going on, and that's okay. Because that lets you basically bring the practice into a performance and have it be like a different type of performance that actually, like, when you're just like have a song going on in the background, you can't really, it's really hard to get some of these really grounded feelings, these meditative types of states from listening to the radio. It's sometimes you can get them, but it's music not really suited for that. Whereas this type of music is suited to meditative states that we all need to have in our lives at some point. It's important for every single person to be able to ground themselves emotionally. Every single person has to be able to do that, and playing music this way lets you do that. So, you have another thought?
Amen. That's it.
Okay, cool. I'm done. I'm going to keep teasing this out over my entire career because there's always more depth in it. But everyone, thank you for hanging out. I'm going to try to answer questions. I'll probably post answers to all the questions that people have on Facebook because I didn't really get to answer them. But I'll read them all and I'll post answers on Facebook in the next day or two. I'll bring back a recap of all this stuff. I'll probably boil some of this down to the performances and the key sections and kind of dump all that stuff out. But thanks for hanging with me. Feel free to ask questions about this stuff anytime. I'm going to keep making lessons about all these ideas and how to implement these in any genre you do. And again, core ideas are going to be in like you can use them in any kind of music. And I'll try to keep giving examples of how to do that as we go. But yeah, look out for all that stuff. And yeah, thanks for hanging with me. I'm really kind of surprised that people hung this long, but it's like, yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it. I hope to keep I'm going to try to do live streams once a month and have a musical guest with me every time and always talk about a concept that I'm working on. I just freaking love just like playing music with my friends. I feel like that's like where my vibe is these days. Like I got a couple of jam buddies that I just really vibe with, and I think they would come live stream with me. So I think at least once a month. I don't know when exactly, but it'll be Saturday or Sunday. Hopefully when people are free. I'll keep live streaming and always be playing some music that's related to some concept I'm interested in. But yeah, I'm gonna rip it. And yeah, there we go. All right. Auf Wiedersehen, folks. Watch the replay later if you just walked in, which apparently you did. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Rabbit ears.